On this episode of O'Fallon Matters, meet Canine Bear. Then learn about a local cyclist journey across the country. Finally, visit a touring memorial that reminded visitors of the ultimate sacrifice made by those who died in Iraq and Afghanistan. All this and more next on O'Fallon Matters. This division enhances residents' quality of life through safe road networks. Next on O'Fallon Matters, we'll learn how the Streets Division maintains O'Fallon's infrastructure to benefit the traveling public.
O'Fallon Streets Division maintains well over 700 lane miles of pavement. Keeping residents moving along in neighborhoods takes thousands of man-hours. In general, the division is responsible for street maintenance, public storm infrastructure, and snow removal. And Streets performed 1,852 work orders in 2020.
Streets and Stormwater Group, they primarily take care of all the items in the right-of-way. We like to call it a lot of the S's. You've got streets, stormwater, signs, sidewalks, striping, and snow. There's approximately 41 people, including myself, 7 different crews. There's 4 concrete crews, 2 maintenance crews that deal with asphalt, and then the stormwater crew. They take care of all stormwater matters in the city. I can't think of a supervisor or crew leader that doesn't have less than 15 years experience in the construction field. And that's just phenomenal. You just don't find that a lot of places, and it just makes life a lot easier when they know what they're doing on a daily basis.
Crews are pushing and forming slabs of mushy wet concrete. They're splattering on their clothes and boots. Plus, they're on their knees on top of hot pavement. Crews pour slabs, fix potholes, and complete a variety of jobs that make our city streets safe for travel.
What goes into the slabs themselves, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of laughter, but mostly is a lot of care. I mean, the guys that I have and the guys that most of the crews here in the Street Division have is they all care about how the end product looks, and like I said, it comes back to the customer service. We want to make sure that we're giving these customers, these residents, what they deserve.
The Stormwater Group within the Streets Division is responsible for maintaining over 19,000 structures and over 300 miles of storm pipe. And the storm infrastructure can be both within the right-of-way or special easements granted to our city.
It touches everybody. Almost every resident lives near a waterway or a storm sewer. Like any infrastructure, they do fail. So we are there to respond and make repairs. Makes a difference when we go out to someone's backyard and there's a sinkhole by their swing set, for instance. We make it safe. You can tell most residents really appreciate it. You can tell they're thankful for the service.
We go out every year and do an assessment of certain sections of the city, and we create our own work orders. That alone, we can do anywhere from about 300 to 400 work orders on that. But then we try to handle bigger projects like cleaning out detention basins. That takes a little bit more time, but we're pretty busy every day. We don't have much downtime, and then you would think of when it rains we have downtime, but that's actually when we kind of go out and do more work because the flooding will happen and our inlets might get clogged.
During summer months, crews pick up the pace and continually fill important work orders, which makes their duties challenging.
Well, if it's snowing, we're plowing snow. If it's raining, we're working on our equipment. We're constantly doing something. So if there's a storm, we might be cleaning up trees.
Well, the reality is we're kind of the group that's behind the scenes for all the emergency responses. If there's tree limbs down, if there's an earthquake, if roads need to be cleared, snow's on the road, we're the group that gets all that done before everybody else can come in and do what they need to do.
Regardless of the situation, road crews are always willing to go the extra mile to keep our residents moving from point A to B, and they take pride in their skills.
So one of the things I really like about working on the stormwater crew is the variety of jobs that we do. We might be replacing pipe, everything to a minor, sealing a pipe, or fishing somebody's keys out of a storm drain. So we're always doing something different. We're always in different parts of the town.
Just like being part of the community, making sure everyone has safe roads and good infrastructures, just doing our part for the city.
I do like the customer service aspect of all of it, but the camaraderie with the guys is probably the thing that keeps me going every day. We all have bad days, and it seems like you show up, at your start of your shift and you're having a bad day from whatever happened, the night before, and these guys, everybody kind of pulls together, and they got a way of turning you around and making you smile throughout the day. So
Overall, pavement maintenance and preservation provides maximum benefit by enhancing safety and driving conditions, as well as improving ride comfort and aesthetics on O'Fallon roadways. And without O'Fallon Streets Division, we would struggle to meet our residents' infrastructure needs.
O'Fallon PD's newest canine police officer, Bear, has joined the pack. Though he's not even 2 years old, just a puppy by canine unit standards, Bear has caught on quickly with his handler, Officer Adam McClenning, a 5-year veteran of the O'Fallon Police Force. Let's see what both of them have to say about keeping our community safe.
Hello there, my name is Bear, O'Fallon's newest police dog. And that's my partner, Officer Adam. I'm still training him, so give him a break if he messes up. Like here, where I'm showing him how to raise his hand. The first thing that you need to know about me is... Give me the ball, give me the ball. Come on, please, give me.
I got Canine Bear in February of this year. We got back from school, which is right above the Indiana border, for about 6 weeks. So we grew pretty strong, grew a bond, and we've been on the road for about 2 months now.
My second favorite toy is something called a Sergeant Lewis. It is a very large chew toy that can swing you around and around. My partner thinks it helps us catch the bad guys without hurting them too much. But we just love chewing on a Sergeant Lewis.
They're both big giants, and they're both really well-spoken but soft-spoken, but when the job needs to get done, they get in there and they're a powerhouse. So Bear is a wonderful asset to our canine unit, and I think you're going to continue to see a lot of success with him, and Adam's done fantastic as far as melding into our family and our canine unit.
Really from the beginning, me and Bear had a pretty good connection to where we understood each other. When it was time to be serious and work, it's time to be serious and work. But when it's playtime and when it's ball time and being just a normal dog running around in the yard, there's time for that too. That was another big thing too, is that he just took to us pretty well and our family, because obviously it's a commitment. Ah, Bubba, it's all right, good boy.
It's a family member to us. It's such a unique bond that they become an intricate part of our life. And these same family members, these same dogs that are willing to risk their life for us, are also willing to risk their lives for the community.
And we have a big family that helps us protect O'Fallon. There are these older dogs that I want to be just like when I grow up. They've won all these awards for being so good at their jobs. Like Odin. He's been a police dog for almost a whole decade. Psst, don't tell him that we call him Grandpa, or else he might get snippy at us. We're Vegas. We could find something as small as a credit card just by sniffing it out.
Funny story is that when I was in the academy, our canine unit came to the academy and did a demonstration for us. That's kind of when I knew that that's what I want to do. Once you see them work and they're so task-oriented that it's really incredible actually how smart they are and how much smarter they are than we are, and how much better he is at some aspects of the job and makes it easier for us.
Well, no argument here.
Public interaction has always been on the forefront of the canine team and the canine unit. Socializing our dogs to the public is also very important. We want to dispel this misnomer that police dogs are mean and aggressive and vicious, and that simply is not true. And what you're going to see with our dogs especially is this community interaction. We enjoy coming out and interacting with the public, showing the O'Fallon citizens truly what their police canine unit is doing for them.
Whether it's us going out to coffee with a cop or doing safety time demonstrations and getting to interact with the public and the kiddos and stuff like that. It's just a really cool connection that we have with the community and the city.
Thank you to the citizens of O'Fallon for allowing us to have these magnificent dogs. Without our community and without our citizens, we would not have such a fantastic department that we do.
But the person I want to impress the most is my partner. I gotta show him that I can do the job right, catch the bad guys, and help keep our community safe.
We're really becoming best friends, really. I mean, you know, you talk about like the training that goes into it and the time commitment and everything like that. And, you know, I mean, me and him spend pretty much every hour of every day together. So, you know, it's one of those connections where, you know, 2 a.m. sitting in the car, nothing going on, and it's me and him. So, he knows when I'm happy, when I'm mad. You know, he knows. So, yeah, we're still learning each other, but you know, I think we're best friends in the making.
So come out, see the dogs. If you see us on the street and we're not working, say hi. We love to show off our dogs any chance we can.
That's right. If you see us out and about, make sure you let me know that I'm a good boy. Can I have my ball now?
Here, catch your ball.
Good boy. Oh, buddy. That's a good boy. Oh, that's a good boy. Oh, that's a good boy.
The St. Charles County Veterans Museum recently honored those who served in the Korean War. Now, Joe Meyer has the highlights from this moving ceremony.
On a hot summer day, Korean War veterans and their families gathered at the St. Charles County Veterans Museum for Korean War Veterans Day. This Remembrance Day is observed each year on July 27th. Did you know that almost 40,000 Americans died in action in Korea and more than 100,000 were wounded? Among the casualties were 7 soldiers killed in action from St. Charles County.
The Forgotten War, also known as the Lost War, it fell between 2 other wars. The very popular World War II and the very unpopular Vietnam. In any case, it happened.
On July 20th, 1953, negotiations reached an armistice agreement, which they signed 7 days later at a ceremony in Panmunjom at 2200 hours. On July 27th, 1953, the eerie silence fell across the front. The Korean War was over. In closing, to see the 2 divided Koreas today and not know the war was fought and the battles that were won and lost and the struggle of the South Korean people at the time, the 7 military men on our wall of honor that gave their lives in the Korean War so long ago would be proud to see that it's what South Korea has become as a nation today.
The ceremony also featured remarks from the Korean War Veterans Association Commander Terry C. Bryant and a proclamation from Senator Josh Hawley's District Director Sam Safa.
Today, we observe the National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day.
Also, 2 St. Charles County patriots were recognized for painting a mural in memory of the Korean War.
This museum, it's fairly new and they put a lot of work and love into it, and we wanted to show our appreciation to the museum and the city, and we didn't really know what kind of mural, and we said we just want to give you something. And we started talking to some of the other people here, and we decided on Korea.
They met with 2 of our Korean War veterans that are volunteers and kind of got their feedback on what kind of pictures would go into it, and they decided that they were so impressed with our veterans that they decided they want to do something that would last around the museum and help honor the veterans of the Korean War.
In the end, it's important to remember the sacrifices that our local veterans made so we can live in freedom. One way you can honor their service is to visit the St. Charles County Veterans Museum.
We started from the beginning when Ralph Borelli started this. He wanted every veteran has a story, so we continued on to tell those stories. It's an ongoing repository for those stories for those veterans.
It's important to remember that freedom is never free. And the freedoms we enjoy in our country, somebody paid for them, and We can't say thanks enough to our veterans, and this town is really special in a lot of ways. It's nice being part of a community that values their veterans so much, and it's just our way of saying thank you to them, everything we do here at the museum.
Next up on O'Fallon Matters, we welcome John Bell, a cyclist who traveled across the country in one of America's most challenging bike events. Today, he is going to share his amazing journey. The Trans Am Bike Race is an annual, self-supported, ultra-distance cycling race across the United States. The route is 4,200 miles long and runs from the Pacific Coast in Astoria, Oregon, to the Atlantic Coast in Yorktown, Virginia. John Bell completed that race in just 24 days, 3 hours, and 42 minutes. First off, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I think before we get into the story, let's find out a little bit about you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, so I moved originally to St. Louis City in 2007. I work at St. Louis University. I'm now the head track and field coach, track and field and cross country coach at St. Louis U. I came here in 2007 as an assistant, kind of worked my way up very, very quickly, and then moved to O'Fallon about 7 years ago. Got married. My wife is a city council member, and so yeah, that's how I ended up in O'Fallon, and we really, really do like the community. We love it here. It's a great place to have a family, raise a family.
So what made you decide to do this?
That's a good question. Something's not right. No, all seriousness, so there was a documentary about this race that came out, the original race in 2014. And I'd seen that video, seen that documentary, and I was like, "There's no way. I'm never going to ride a bike, as part of this race." And then I actually started this race in 2017. Some things changed. I was like, "Yeah, maybe I do want to give it a try." And so I started in 2017. I only made it to Council, Idaho, before I had some tendonitis and I actually had pneumonia as well, some sickness and some injuries. I was like, okay, I got to pull the plug. Kind of in that part of the route, you start to go into an area of Idaho where you don't have cell phone coverage or very limited cell phone coverage for about 300 miles. And I was like, if I get into trouble, this is probably a good place to bail before I get in trouble. Fast forward to 2021, obviously I think everybody struggled in 2020 with COVID and being indoors and, working remotely and just everything that pandemic has brought on. The good thing is with that from a physical standpoint, I was able to ride a bike a lot because I was working from home. So I did ride more than I've ever, in 2020, ridden more miles than I'd ever ridden before. So I was like, maybe this is a good time to give it a shot.
Right. So, this is not, when we think of it, we're thinking, okay, you're getting on a bike and you just go. But there's a lot more to it. You didn't have a personal assistant, getting your lodging set up. And that even presented some unique situations for you, correct?
Yeah, no, it's a self-support. The Trans Am Bike Race is a self-supported bike race. Yeah. Which basically means from the time the gun goes off in Astoria, Oregon, until you cross the finish line in Yorktown, Virginia, you are totally on your own. There's no sag wagons, there's no support, within the rules, you're not supposed to be calling, family or loved ones to make reservations, or, obviously you call, but not for those purposes. You don't have any managers trying to manage, what you're doing. You have all your gear, you have to make your own reservations, figure out what you're eating, all entirely on your own. So it does present some unique challenges, some unique stressors, but looking back at it, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. And you learn a lot about yourself as you go through that process. But it's a challenge to get from Oregon to Virginia on your own.
The post office you had to stay the night in, was that the most interesting place you stayed the night in on the trip?
As far as post offices go, it was pretty nice. It was carpeted, it was heated, it was dry. So now I didn't get great sleep. I slept with one eye open. It was kind of weird. People started coming in, ranchers, farmers at 5 in the morning to get their mail, and who's this guy sleeping in the post office? Come to find out, a few nights later, one of the guys who was racing behind us did the same thing, and the local sheriff kicked him out. Really? So I was fortunate because the sheriff's office was actually the next building over. So I just happened to get lucky.
It had to be just amazing to see the United States from coast to coast, seeing all how the topography changes and just how beautiful this country is.
It's an extremely gorgeous country, and you don't realize it sometimes until you get out. And seeing things from a bicycle, seat is very different than a car or an airplane window. It's a big country. It's a gorgeous country. And one of the observations I made is when you're state to state, very subtle changes. But then when you take a step back and you look at, Missouri versus Montana, very, very different people, very different, cultures. And it was kind of fun to see that transition all the way across the country.
So you get to the finish line. You get to the finish line and you see your father there. And I mean, that had to be an amazing feeling, not only to see him there, but to think that, wow, he must be an amazing cyclist because he got there before you.
Well, yeah, he flew. He flew. But no, people have asked me, what was that like? Because it was Lisa, my wife, kind of did this without me knowing. It's kind of a surprise, which it was a good surprise. The finish line of this, the route you have to go through Yorktown, Virginia, you go along the coast and you have to go back up this hill, which is like total torture at the end of 4,200 miles. You just want to be done with any type of climbing. You climb up this hill and there's the monument and it was like 95 degrees. I'd already been up at that point for 27 hours. Mike and I had made a push from Lexington, Virginia all the way through. So we'd ridden, by the time I turned my bike computer off, I'd ridden for 19 hours and 40 minutes in that 27-hour period, and there was no sleep in there. And so I was a little bit out of it, to say the least, when I got there. And there was my dad, Lisa was there, one of my best friends from high school and her family was there. There were some folks who are fans of the race who live in that area, so they all came out. So there's, 20 people there, 15, 20 people there. And I'm like, been up for 27 hours, I'm tired, I'm kind of disoriented a little bit. And I look up and there's my dad. And I was just like, I was shocked, pleasantly surprised, but I was like, oh, hi, how are you? It was probably on his side, maybe a little anticlimactic of my reaction, but I was just so out of it that now again, looking back at it, I was like, yeah, that was pretty neat. And I'm glad my wife had that surprise for me.
So just give us the lesson learned overall here from this race.
I think the biggest thing, I think there's two real big things. One, personally, when you set out to do something, and I would like to believe COVID also taught us this in 2020, that you have to be willing to adapt. Like, you don't know what's going to happen the next day. But when you go out and do something like this, you really don't know what's going to happen the next day. And you have to be willing to just accept it and adapt to whatever your circumstances might be. Being flexible and being willing to adapt, I think, is a life lesson that I'll take with me. And then I think, again, generally, like how nice people are and they're willing to help. And so I think, that's something that I'll take with me, is you just kind of have to open yourself up to others and let other people in. And people are pretty nice.
The Remembering Our Fallen Memorial was clearly the most moving exhibit at this year's Heritage and Freedom Fest. Let's take a closer look. They gave their lives for their country, for our freedom. The Remembering Our Fallen exhibit is a touring memorial that reminds visitors of the ultimate sacrifice made by those who died in Iraq and Afghanistan while wearing our country's uniform. It was by far this year's Heritage and Freedom Fest's most moving and memorable experience, a vivid reminder of the cost of freedom and a way for these men and women to live on.
I am a Gold Star mom that travels throughout the United States with Remembering Our Fallen. Bill and Yvonne Williams, who are Patriotic Productions, are the ones that have put this together, and in 2010 they started to do one that was state only, and during that time people would come up and say, when are you going to do Wyoming? I lost my son. Or when are you going to do Missouri? And over a period of time they realized that they needed to make it a national memorial and then let everyone join and come into this. So we started this that you see behind me now, which is a traveling outdoor memorial. What we do is we ask each family that has lost a loved one to give us a picture of their hero in a military uniform, and then also an inset picture of them loving life, family, a hobby, or whatever it is. And below each picture, they also tell you what their rank was, what branch, their age, the day of their death, their hometown, and how they died.
And helping the city bring the monument to the festival was our local Lowe's Home Improvement store.
We did a large veterans promotion back in November, and we've been working with the mayor and the city on the next event that we could do. And the city come to us on sponsoring the event in order to bring it to the community. It's one of the biggest things that we've sponsored locally, and we took our whole market of 12 stores all over St. Louis. We all come together in order to pay for getting this here so that everybody can enjoy having the veterans experience.
It brings chills. We need to stop, take a moment, and remember all these guys, you know, that have fought and died for this great country that we live in, because that's what it means to be free. Truly, that's what it is. And you know, it's just an amazing thing, and it makes you really proud to be an American. It really does.
Our son, Jackson, is on this wall now. We lost him 2 years ago in Kuwait, along with his Sergeant Holly Belinsky. My heart goes out to every fallen family. Every holiday like this is hard for us.
I lost my son while he was serving in Iraq. My son, First Lieutenant Jacob Fritz, was executed while POW January 20th of 2007.
We can't replace them, but we honor them the best we can.
I say every single man and woman, boy and girl that's on these towers have become my children. Not only just my son, but all of them are my kids. And I know that when we bring them here, they're going to be remembered. And that's what's important. We want people to remember and appreciate our military and visualize, actually see who sacrificed their lives for the freedoms that we have today. And I really feel like when you see the memorial, it's that inset picture that reminds people that our military is us. You know, it's the kid who bags your groceries, the girl who babysits, the person that you've watched play football or softball.
See them with their families and their brothers, their sisters, their moms, their dads, and you know, it really kind of makes it hit home. You know, these are everyday, awesome, patriotic Americans that go out and do what they do, and unfortunately some of them don't make it back. But you know, that's what that's there for. So for us to remember them and salute them and honor them.
The oldest is 69, the youngest is 18. There are almost 100 women on here. Every branch of the military is represented. It's amazing.
4th of July means freedom. It also means honoring the ones like our son, Specialist Jackson Johnson, that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Because without them, we wouldn't have freedom and independence in this country. They paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom.
This monument reminds us that a hero never dies until they are forgotten. Always remember. Thanks for joining us today. If you have a good story idea, please let us know. Email us at OFallonTV@ofallon.mo.us. And remember to give back to your community, because O'Fallon matters to all of us.